185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast.
I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. My head really hurts.
What's up, everyone? We are back and talking punk and hardcore. This is Zach Nelson, and I'm the only dude on this pod who was not born yet in the year that we're going to talk about today. But I've surrounded myself with some geezers who were there and lived to tell the tale. Helping out, you know him, you love him. It is the best dressed man on the pod. When he was a kid, he used to have to walk 3 miles to school uphill both ways. It's Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
Hey, I've been waiting for a guy to come and take me by the hand.
Also up and out. Still pissed that the U.S. Treasury moved away from the wooden nickel. It is Ben Merlis, a.k.a. Ben Edge, a.k.a. Bedge. What's up, Ben?
What's going on?
And rounding us out, it is the king of the sock hop. But don't call him Cincinnati, but please do thank him for his service. It is the man known as Clevo. What's up, Cleveland?
This heaven gives me migraine.
There you go. Everyone, today we are going to do a Super 7 on the year 1979. And we are trying to make these a little shorter for my sanity. And we did a episode on 2019 and 2010 that we dropped to a Super 6. And they were still like 2 hours, dude. And it made me want to smack myself or throw myself off a bridge. So we came up with a little modification for this one. We are going back to the Super 7, but in rounds 5 and 6, it's going to be a speed round where we just say a song and we don't talk about it. I'm hoping to get these down to like around an hour and a half because editing is a nightmare that's going to send me to an early grave. Okay, Dan, 1979. This is a great year for music. What do you think?
Oh my God. Yes, it's a fantastic year. And you know what? It's one of those years where you're like, oh shit, that was in 79? That was in 79. You know, there's a few things that you would think were earlier, and there's a few things that you thought were later, and they're just sat there waiting to be grabbed. UK on top in 79, I feel, but you know, we'll see where the lists go.
Well, if I remember right, you got the number 1 pick, so we'll see where you go. Dude, this has been a joy. You know, narrowing down my list, I've listened to 1979 a lot in the last few weeks, and sometimes this happens. You know, we do a year, or, you know, even when we do like the monthly, more current pods, it's like, if that playlist is good, my life is better, you know, and this is one where it's just been an absolute joy listening to these songs and whittling them down. And now my list is so solid. When I went out today, ride my bike, it was like, God damn, like listening to these 10 songs, like just on repeat, it was like, this is some of the greatest music in the history of music. You know, like often I say, I think that hardcore and punk is the best like music there is. And there are so many examples from this year that prove just that. 1979. What do you think, Clevo?
So 1979, it's a strange year because I feel like personally I'm just so much more in tune with the just the big names that it doesn't seem like I'm going to have much in the way of like out of left field picks on this one. Cause it's just like, it feels like it's just like the big names, like all in front. And there's just like so much good stuff that I kept going through and then like just going deeper in. And I just can't believe like how much really did come out this year.
You know, that's good because some people were upset about some left field picks on 1980. So glad someone's going to have a straightforward list. What were you going to say, Dan?
I was going to say, like, I used to do a soul night in San Diego, and some, you know, cooler than hell person, or at least they thought they were, I was playing The Temptations, Ain't Too Proud to Beg, and he came up and tried to vibe me like, why are you playing this? And I just said, listen to this song. There's a reason it was a fucking hit, you fucking herb. And that's the way I feel about this. The big bands and the big things, like Clevo's right, like to be able to, like, these songs are some of the greatest songs ever, ever, ever to be listened to on this planet Earth. So if they're coming from big bands, so be it.
Okay, Ben, let's go to you. State of the Union 1979.
It's Buzz Cox versus Cockney Rejects versus the Dickies. It's Slaughter and the Dogs versus Cheetah Chrome versus Rhino 39. It's Black Flag versus Really Red. And Sid Vicious is dead. Despite this, First Generation Punk is still on top for the last time ever, with groundbreaking all-time classic releases by The Damned, The Clash, Buzzcocks, Generation X, Avengers, and Misfits. Nevertheless, the UK music press has already declared that punk is dead. Oops! It's hard to ignore debut LPs by Undertones, Stiff Little Fingers, Ruts, and UK Subs that all make it onto the charts over there. Meanwhile, a change is a-brewing. Punk's head and its heart begin to separate as post-punk comes into its own. PIL, Gang of Four, Joy Division, Wire, and a new, faster, harder take on punk that's not quite hardcore springs up in the suburbs of North America. I could spend 1.5 hours talking about it, but for the sake of brevity, I'll name a few of these bands. Dead Kennedys, Rhino 39, Canadian Subhumans, DOA, Dickies, The Crowd, F-Word, The Almighty Germs and their GILP, and Black Flag, who lose singer number 1, Keith Morris, and get singer number 2, Ron Reyes, during this year. Bad Brains make a demo that doesn't get released until the 90s, so no one can pick anything off that. Oh, and the first hardcore song ever out of Vogue by Middle Class comes out. It's hardcore. I don't care what anyone says. Oi music really gets started in earnest with records by Cockney Rejects and Angelic Upstarts. The same goes for anarcho-punk, with Crass and Poison Girls putting out debut records. Labels that form: SST, Alternative Tentacles, Crass Records. Significant comps from 1979: Beach Boulevard, Yes LA, Tooth and Nail, Vancouver Complication, and the Great Rock and Roll Swindle soundtrack. Lots of bands form this year, but they're basically the bands that put out their first records in 1980, 81. So, I mean, it's a laundry list of bands. Lots of international stuff too. Australia, The Scientists, Boys Next Door, and The Leftovers. Boys Next Door is Nick Cave's first band. Sweden, The End, Holland, Rondos, Denmark, Sods, West Germany. There was a country called West Germany. The Buttocks is the name of the band. Actually, a pretty fucking good band with a silly name.
Pretty good band.
And a whole lot of Finnish shit that I can't pronounce. That is all.
Great job, Ben. Although, well, actually, Out of Vogue was 78. But what are you going to do?
Out of Vogue was recorded in 78, but did not come out until 79. But yes, it says 1978 on the back of the record.
Yeah, and Discogs, which is the Bible for the podcast. Discogs.com. Please sponsor us. Okay, Dan, let's go to you. Let people know the rules for the Super 7 and the order that we are picking in.
Okay, a Super 7 is our competitive way to build the best playlist / mixtape. Goes in a fantasy football style draft, and the order, I believe this time, is me first, Zach second, Clevo third, and Bedge in the 1.5 curse. You can pick the same band, but once one song is gone, the song is gone.
All right, Dan, we go to you. 1979. What is the greatest punk song in 79? Is it Love Song by The Damned?
I mean, that's up there. That is definitely up there. But this is gonna maybe not seem like a Dan move, but I'm taking Nervous Breakdown by Black Flag.
Yeah, because Dan is acknowledging SoCal on top. What's up, dude? The best punk song of the year.
I mean, this song is so ripping. It's so amazing. I love the vocals. I think Keith is the best Black Flag singer. I don't particularly care for Black Flag kind of after this release, really, which boo, hiss, all you want at home. I think their first 7-inch and the first song on the first 7-inch is the best thing they ever did. I don't care if you're not fucking with me after this. This song is incredible. The drum roll, the aggression, and then the almost like slurring vocal near the end where it's just getting angrier and angrier, and then, jumps into the crazy. it's brilliant. It's taking a Sex Pistols approach and ramping it to infinity. Like, it's obviously like a fan of that, but then going completely into uncharted territory. And I think it's brilliant.
It's one of the greatest songs of all time, and one of the greatest vocal performances of all time, and maybe the best punk riff of all time. It's got it all.
I mean, it really is the blueprint for American hardcore, even though it has that faux British vocal that Keith kind of does, is just like so snotty and whatever. And yeah, I really, everything about this record, it really is Black Flag. It sets the tone, and it's also just like, it's a ripper in itself, where, you know, Black Flag just kind of goes from here and just takes off, and it is kind of its own little snapshot of them at this time, because they do go through so many different phases. But this is also just as good, you know, as anything else they did. I would say Keith's probably my second favorite vocalist in Black Flag. So yeah, this record's great.
He was always like my second favorite, and I liked Chavo, but like the more and more I think about it, you just got to give it to Keith, because I think that I used to listen to Everything Went Black the most. And then on that CD, I like Chavo the most, but it's like now I listen to the first 4 years the most. And dude, I mean, this is the best shit, like, of shit that I think is all very good. His vocal performance on here is mind-blowing, really, especially when you consider like he didn't write the lyrics. Like, so he's coming in and singing Greg Ginn's lyrics and definitely making them his own. You know, I love that part when he goes like berserk and then loses it, like berserk, and then he runs out of breath, and then he just starts over like from the it's so sick, dude. Like, he doesn't come back in and go berserk again. He just goes brilliant performance, dude. I mean, like, this is it. This is one of those things. It's like, do you like punk or not? You know, listen to this song. You know, Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, and this is the only recording with Brian Migdal on drums. After this, they get Robo. So the feel of this record is very different than the stuff that came later. It's way more straightforward rhythmically. It's less choppy sounding. You don't get any of that slowing down and speeding up kind of vibe that you get from even the next record after this. In addition to it being a different singer, and Greg Ginn doesn't do guitar solos, or at least on this song. Now I'm trying to think if he does guitar solos on the B-side, but he's known for those, like, he's playing rhythm and lead at the same time on a lot of those later records. So he's playing a couple power chords and then going wheedly wheedly, you know, and going, and you don't get that at all on this. So it's like a completely different feel. It's just a perfect recording. And it just captures, I hate to say it captures the moment, because what do I know? This was recorded in January 1978, even though it came out in 79. So it was recorded before I was born. I wasn't there.
Let's just keep it going, dude. I'm going to take Fix Me off the same 7-inch, the next song. It's wild because you end Nervous Breakdown, one of the greatest songs of all time. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to write a song that's just a tick faster and cut it in half. So we're at a sub 1 minute song right now. So sick, dude. Like, following up a perfect riff with another perfect riff. And yeah, catchy as hell. Fix me, fix my head, fix me, please. I want to be dead someday. I don't know. Another perfect vocal performance is just another perfect hardcore punk song, dude. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it's timeless. It's classic. I saw the band Mudhoney in 1992, and they were like the hot shit grunge band, and they encored with Fix Me, and it was like a breath of fresh air, because I don't like grunge music very much, but I love this kind of music. And it was like, yes, more of that, please. It was like, you know, coming up for air. Incredible, very easy to play. And it's like one of those things where it's like, if it's so easy to play, why did no one think of it before? I guess no one even thought to make music this aggressive before, you know, these guys came around.
Yeah, and not to sound dusty, but it's like, if kids were picking up a guitar and like playing this 7-inch, music would be in a much better space today. So, okay, Clevo, let's go to you for your number one.
And I'm just going to stay on the record and going with I've Had It next song. So we're just going to go in order.
Yeah, love it.
This is really that sort of, to go with Keith's vocals on this, is like, you know, just the whole like I don't have time for society. I don't have time for a job. I just want to watch TV. And it kind of going along with that sort of like the snotty Keith voice. It's like kind of a stereotypical punk song where it's like, I've had it. I don't need society and like all of this stuff. And, but it just like that opening riff, just like the guitar by itself, like da na 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 na. Da da, and then I just like, and when it goes into the chorus, like the way it kind of builds up to like the point where it's like he's had it. So yeah, everything about this record. I don't know if Ben's gonna make it the quadfecta and take the last song with his next pick. But everything on this record just really is great. Like for a band to come out in like a very new genre, or going on to create a new genre, and to be like this fully formed is really crazy when you think about it.
This is awesome, dude. This is the song off the 7-inch that reminds me the most of the Ramones, with like that little break. Da-na-na-na-na,
Yes, it's 53rd and 3rd by the Ramones. It's very similar to that song, which someone had to point out to me. I didn't make that connection on my own, so it's not like it's a Ramones clone, but Greg does talk about the Ramones being a huge influence. And we interviewed Cliff Roman, and he talked about seeing the Ramones when the first time they came to LA in 76. And he started the Weirdos because he saw the Ramones play. And at that same show was Greg Ginn, who started Black Flag because he saw the Ramones play. So it's amazing. And for my number one pick, I got to say, I was not a surfer, but I have a skateboard. Fucking Wasted, Black Flag. That's it. The whole EP. Yep. Bam, number one, all in a row. And it's Wasted. Like, Circle Jerks cover this song for the first album, and they speed it up. And like Germs speed up Lexicon Devil from the 7-inch to the LP. And like, I got to go team slower on both of those. Like, I like the Black Flag version of Wasted. It has a feel to it that gets lost when it's sped up by the Circle Jerks. Although the Circle Jerks version kicks ass too. Don't get me wrong. That's a classic too. But I was so wasted. And when we interviewed Keith Morris on this podcast, he talked about taking, what was it, like animal tranquilizers or something, and walking up and down the Strand like 17 times in one night because he was so tweaked out. So it's like, it's cool to have like a story associated with this song.
Dude, I love this. Especially, I was a heavy man. I lived on the Strand. What's up? Shout out Silver Strand Beach. Okay, Dan, let's go back to you. Round number 2. You're kind of getting number 1 again, aren't you?
I mean, it feels that way since we just wiped out the EP, right? Okay. All right, I'm going to go with, I'm going to go Smash It Up parts 1 and 2, The Damned. We got to do The Damned. Whoa. Sounds like someone is just grumbling in the background to the patented Dan Sant intro plus song combo, but Spotify has them together on the Machine Gun Etiquette thing, so I have to take it that way. What I love about it is really like a beautiful intro, but it's still got punk energy, and then when it kicks in, it's just the party punk song of all time. Like, Monty's getting loose on that keyboard, and it's a fucking track. I could easily have taken Noise 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 or Love Song off this record, but I just got to be true to the one that captured my youthful imagination first because of the sheer catchiness of it. Smash It Up just grabbed me the first time I heard it, and I've loved it ever since, and I've never got sick of it. There's many a song that you have worn into the ground 1 billion times, and then, you can never listen to it again. Well, Smash It Up is Teflon to that.
Yeah, this is great. I would have chose a different song for the playlist just because the intro is long, but the song is great. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, this has like almost like a 60s vibe to it, and the Damned definitely leaned much further into their 60s influences later on, but you have that organ sound that I always associate with like Double Shot of My Baby Love and 96 Tears and all these kind of garage rock hits from the mid 60s. But of course it's, it sounds very current. Meaning 1979.
Okay, let's see. We are going to my number 2. Dude, I think I got to take the song that is the anthem of every angsty 13-year-old. I ain't no goddamn son of a bitch. You better think about it, baby. Dude, when you're a young teen and you hear this song for the first time, you're like, okay, favorite song. It's so epic. And, you know, what makes a Misfits so special is the juxtaposition of these over-the-top, like, melodic songs, but with that super raw recording. You know, like, one without the other is something completely different. Actually, the Misfits do a lot of great songs this year. This was not a good strategic pick, but, I mean, if I'm being true to myself, Jesus Christ. You know? Yeah, what do you think, Ben?
I had it as an alternate, so maybe I'll pick a Misfits song later. But yeah, Misfits, all-time great punk band. It goes back to what Dan was saying about playing the Temptations. It's like I could name like 40 or 50 great obscure punk songs from 1979, but like that's not the exercise. The exercise is like, what are the 7 best ones? And it's like, we're kind of in agreement so far. Like Misfits, Damned, Black Flag, like... Sorry, but that's the best shit. So,
I mean, Horror Business came out this year, and like that might be the best Misfit song. You know, it's like it would be in contention. But dude, this one, like, I just got to reconnect to my young self when I first got into the Misfits, and like this is the one. What do you think, Clevo?
Yeah, another great pick. And I had, you know, the Misfits put out 2 7-inches this year, and I had pretty much every song on my list, so we're probably going to come back to them.
Dan, what's your take on this?
I thought you were going to take Ratfink.
You know, if Ratfink didn't, I hate the part where it goes up a step. You know what I'm saying? When it goes like, but dude, I am a Ratfink supporter. I know some people hate that song. I love that song just for the ridiculousness of it.
Oh, really? I thought you were in my camp of not liking it, but
no, I love it. But I think they could have cut off like the last 45 seconds of it.
I think, like, yes, the Misfits have some silly lyrics, but when they have silly lyrics, they still make you believe. Do you know what I mean? Like, all their songs about like 1950s horror films and everything, but you just sing them with every ounce in your body, just like. And this song, though, in particular, that isn't silly. Like, the lyrics are so sick, and the sheer Elvis of it all on the I ain't no goddamn. It's so good. What a brilliant pick.
You say it's not silly, but it literally has a line in it that says, "The omelet of disease awaits your noontime meal."
He's just warning you about salmonella. He's just warning you about salmonella.
Okay, Clevo, let's go to you for your number 2.
And I actually can't believe it's still here. I know that we just did a round of Black Flag, but this might actually be one of the. I think it's the best punk song of the year. Actually, I know we're just getting to it now. Possibly one of the best punk songs of all time. Stiff Little Finger, Suspect Device. I was thinking about this because you know, listening to Inflammable Material, I would put this up there with Cockspire's Shock Troops as an album that is just like hit after hit after hit after hit that you could just take any track off of this record within reason. And it could go on this list. Okay, so maybe 1 or 2. But it's just another one of those LPs that's just like hit after hit after hit, and you could just pick a song off of this. It's a great album. This is such an angry, you know, just fired up. It is everything that punk should be. It's political. It's angry. It's, you know, the guitars have like that great sound just when it kicks in, that overdriven guitar, and Jake just like cutting in with those vocals right over that guitar. I love everything about this.
Dude, this is so good. This album's great. I went and saw them this year, and they were awesome. Although they did celebrate the entire catalog, which I wasn't on board for, but because it was funny. Like, they'd go, "All right, we wrote this song 30 years ago," and you'd be like, "Hell yeah, dude, time for an old one," you know. And it's like, "Oh, that's a song from like the 90s," you know. Okay, Ben, what do you think about this?
Great pick. Love it. Great album all the way through. They're definitely one of these bands where, I don't know, it's sad to say that like the earliest stuff is the best, then it gets a little less good, then a little less good. But here we're like, pretty much god tier punk rock. Coming out of Northern Ireland during the Troubles, it's just rad. Just like Clevo said, you can just throw a dart at the track list. And I have a possible one that's not this one that I might come back to.
There's a few on here that like might get swooped. Yeah, we'll see. This is so good. The guitar tone on this is out of this world. Let's go to you, Ben, for your number 2.
I'm so glad Clevo didn't pick another Misfits song. Well, I'm so glad he didn't pick this Misfits song, because Children in Heat is after Astro Zombies, it's my favorite. So it's my second favorite. And when I saw them in 2019, they played a soccer stadium in downtown LA. And I said to my friend, boy, I hope they play Children in Heat. Basically with the assumption that like, they're not going to play that fucking song. I'm a weirdo. And like, no one ever cites this as their favorite song of theirs. And they played it. And the moment we looked at each other, we were just like, yes, like we had just like won a championship. and it kicked ass, and they did a great job. And we always like argue about like, what is he singing? Cause you can't trust the internet for lyrics. Like people write the wrong lyrics hundreds of times on every website, and you think that that's the correct version of the lyrics. But like, you've been pissing blood for 7 days. Is that what he's singing? Anybody know?
He's definitely saying you've been pissing blood. Like that part is pretty easy to hear in the song.
Pissing blood for 7 days. I love it.
I'm surprised that you think that this isn't that popular, Ben. Like this is one of the best Misfit songs too, right? Children in heat, you can't control them. It's classic.
So good.
Dan, what do you think?
This is my favorite Misfit song. So I've been
yeah.
Oh, favorite, huh?
Yeah, my number 1. This is my
Didn't
number
know
1
that.
Misfit song.
Well, you have impeccable taste in
Resistance.
Misfit songs.
I love how dirty it is, and just that the juxtaposition between the children in heat. I should have Zach do that, but then the no resistance, like it's like got an uptick, and it's almost like a hopefulness on that part. I don't know. It just sounds so good. I love it.
A hopefulness.
No, I agree. I know what he means. It's like uplifting, like an uplifting vibe to not uplifting lyrics. I mean, that's essentially the Misfits formula.
I mean, it's uplifting. Like, it's fucking high school kids boning each other, right? Like, that's a good time.
You're right.
And getting omelets of disease coming out of their genitals.
Well, it's
Pissing
not all
blood.
fun and games. You know what I mean? What are you going to do? Okay, let's go back to Dan for his number 3.
Oh my God, we're already there? This is crazy. Like, it's going fast. All right, I'm going to take the first song off of Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division, a song called Disorder.
I, the ghost of Tim Yohannan, deem this record not punk.
I'm going to defend this being on this list in general, because as far as the giant umbrella version of punk, like, let's put it this way, music that couldn't exist without punk existing, you have in 1979, this, which I would consider post-punk. You have the beginnings of hardcore. You have the beginnings of oi, the beginnings of anarcho-punk. And you also have that second wave of power pop, which is completely influenced by punk. And you have new wave music and synth pop. And all that stuff doesn't exist without punk existing in the first place. And if you look at it as this big umbrella kind of thing, 1979 might be the best year. It might be the best year for music if you're taking all that into account. So great pick.
Yeah, but the list isn't things that are influenced by punk. Then like Cyndi Lauper's on the list. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm not picking Motorhead songs from this year. I'm not picking like the Iron Maiden demo songs. So this is like popular music, and like, you know, it can be covered on NPR. So I don't know. Okay, I'm going to my third pick, and I am going to take I'm going to take Stranglehold by the UK Subs. Just an absolute catchy song. The little hook that gets you out the gate, and then a chorus that you could sing all afternoon. Got a stranglehold on me, stranglehold. What a great song to practice your intonation, you know? And yeah, just simple and short and good. I assume that like if I liked the Beatles, like that's how people would feel about like listening to a Beatles song is how I feel listening to this song. You know, just something that's like so short, so catchy, so perfect, you know? Yeah, it's my pick. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, this is probably the catchiest UK sub song they ever wrote. And you know, when you're like exercising and you're running out of steam, and then you get this second wind, it's like, this is not a song I grew up listening to, and I probably discovered it in my early 20s or something. And so it's like, fuck yeah, there's more classic, timeless, great punk left out there to be discovered. That's the feeling I got. And UK subs, I see like they have like two high points, which is like this stuff from like the early singles on the first album, Another Kind of Blues, and then that Endangered Species, like 1982 kind of bump. Like if you just dig into those two little like 79 and 82 eras of UK subs, there's good stuff in between too. But like they have an intimidating discography, so it's hard to know where to start. But I would say those records, and yes, amazing. The guitar little doodad, you would call it it's a riff, right? Isn't that what you'd call it?
Yeah, it's just a riff, right?
Yeah.
Riff, a little guitar hook, maybe.
Yeah, very Clash influenced. You don't get that without, you know, that the first Clash album, I think.
I would say for their discography, I would start here. Okay, Dan, what's your take on this?
I love the song. I had UK subs on my list and was gonna take a different one. So having them on the list has maybe freed up another choice, but I'm not sure because they're so good that I might just take another. Just, you know, trying to think like we don't want the list to be all the same songs, but you know what? Sometimes bands just completely bring it, and I just love the way the drums come in to start this record, and then, like you said, that chorus refrain is so catchy.
Okay, Cleva, let's go to you for round number 3.
I'm gonna take Crass with the Do They Owe Us a Living. This song, I love how like the verses are like a military march, like on the snare, and he's just barking so many lyrics at you that you really like. This is a song that you need the lyric sheet, because like it's kind of funny to me that you know, for a band that has so much to say, and I know that, you know, his voice is like right there in the front, but there's just so many lyrics coming at you in like a minute and a half that you know, he's to really get everything that they're saying, and you know, and it really is just like you know, talking about like class warfare and consumerism and stuff in England. You know, when you think about like what England was going through, well, the world in general in the late 70s, but you know, what England was going through, and sort of what caused, you know, Crass to sing about these things. And then, you know, it's just like, and then when it kicks into the verse, which is so catchy and so sing-alongable, and it's just like, and of course they fucking do. So yeah, I positively love everything about this song.
This song kicks so much ass, dude, but it might be the only one. Dan, what do you think about this?
Well, I got swooped on this song. If you just think about like, what does punk sound like? In my head, like, this is some of like 50% of what will come up as an answer in my head. Like the way that it's minimal, it's fragile, but at the same time it's saying something and it's catchy. Everything about it. That's what punk is. And like, I mean, that militaristic drum throughout, like it's almost like it could be militaristic, but it could also be like medieval. Like it's just so tribal. and just the course I do, like it's perfect. Like, and I mean, we can't talk punk and the impact without talking about the visuals from Crass. Like, just unbelievable. Like, the visuals are half the band, in my opinion, especially because some of the songs you're like, this one's a skipper.
And I think that that's a good point when you talk about visuals, because if you think about pre-streaming services, and I think about when I was young, and I've said this before, but I think about like when I was young, and you only have $10 or $15 and you want to buy a record. And I think the visuals were so important as you're flipping through the stacks in the record store. If something didn't look cool, you weren't going to risk paying money for it. Because it's like, if you buy a record and it sucks, then you have a record that sucks in your record collection, because you're not going to be able to dump it unless you can trade it off to one of your friends or find someone that wants it. But really, like, when you were going through, it was like you had your big name bands, you had your big name labels. But if you were flipping through and something looked cool, you would take a chance to spend $5 or $10 on it to say, like, oh, I'm going to put this in my collection. So visuals are so important. And I think that, when you think of what comes after Crass, the start, the black and white, the stencil, the text running around the edges, like, they created that style that so many bands have aped after that.
Yeah, I agree. And also with like the visual stuff, when you're buying a record when you're young, it's like you're buying it hoping you like it. And also, if you like it, you might want to have the shirt at some point too. So like, the visuals are important, right? Ben, what do you think about this?
It's a great pick. I have a love-hate relationship with this band, but I've only ever had love for this song. So they kind of, the more I think about Crass, the older I get, the more I think, like, God damn, they come off as like humorless, preachy know-it-alls. But it's like, they probably do know it all. And they practice what they preach. Like, anytime you tell someone like, oh, I'm a vegetarian now, or just anything, like, I'm trying to help the environment. And then the argument against that is like, well, why don't you live on a commune in the country and grow your own vegetables? Because if you do this, then this is harmful for the environment. It's like Crass, like, is the living example of like, okay, here's a band that literally did everything correctly. They're almost like the gold standard, the unattainable or maybe attainable example of like, how to carry yourself in this world. But yeah, like, I don't think they have that many good songs, but this is one of them for sure.
Steve Ignorant is still out touring and, singing this stuff today. So
Yeah, you just got to pay $40 to see it. But what are you going to do?
Inflation.
But back then, I mean, they're basically the Fugazi of anarcho. If you think about it. For the other Crass stuff that I like, I really like that 7-inch by the Zounds. It came out in 1981 called Dancing. That's a really good one. And then Rudimentary Peni is associated, right? Like, they're the band of like this scene that like legit kicks ass. Okay, let's go on, and we are going back to Dan for number 4. Let's go to Ben for round number 3.
All right, I got to take this one before Dan takes it. Although there are 18 or 19 options from this record, because it's a double album, and it's the only double album ever made where there are no duds at all. It's great all the way through. And of course, I'm talking about The Clash. The album is London Calling, and the song is the greatest Clash song ever, Spanish Bombs. There was a separatist movement in Spain in the late 70s, God, probably going up later than that. But there were a lot of terrorist attacks, and they wrote a song about it, and they equate that with what was happening there in 1939 when there was the anarchists versus Franco, the fascists, and the fascists unfortunately won. So there's like this sort of history lesson that you have to like, you get bits and pieces of when they're talking about the days of 39. And it's just a beautiful song, and the chord progression is incredible. And I met the guy who manages Joe Strummer's estate, and I go, what's your favorite Clash song? I want to see if it's the same as mine. And he said, Spanish Bombs. And I'm like, God damn it. We're We're blood brothers now because we like the same Clash song. I'm sure this is a lot of people's favorite Clash song. Yes, it doesn't sound very punk, Zach, but come on, man, it's a Clash.
Yeah, you guys are really not making the case for me wanting to do 1979. That's for sure. Excuse me,
I think-
not doing 1978. That's for sure. Dan, what do you think?
Oh God, can you take a happy pill, please? These are great songs.
It's not about making. It's not a playlist of great songs, dude. Again, like Motorhead.
The
Iron
Clash
Maiden.
is a punk band. You're tripping if you don't think this is punk. You're absolutely
It's not-
tripping.
This is a great, easy listening song, dude.
Oh God, this is good.
There's something better, huh?
Talk about it, Dan. Oh, what's better?
I think I might take a song on the fast round.
Oh, Dan, let's go to you for your number 4.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Australia,
Ooh,
so part of the Commonwealth, but not in the UK. And I am gonna take The Night Watchman by the Boys Next Door. This riff that leads this song off is so catchy. My old band Northern Towns used to cover this song, and I love it so much. I really love the vocal performance of a young Nick Cave, and I love on the choruses you get that like 50 style ooh parts, which are giving, you know, same kind of just a nod to a bygone era, but while in a punk song. And it is just it's a really fantastic song. Like there might be some people who've never checked this out before, but I really urge you to listen to the playlist and think about it, and then think about The Night Watchman coming to touch you. Ooh.
yeah, I will check it on the playlist. There is a playlist for every episode, 185milessouth.com. Click that playlist link at the top of the page, and also you can just find us on Spotify. Okay, I am going to take my number 4, and I'm going to take a Germs song. And this was hard. We talk about dartboard records, and this is one of them, dude. I've kind of been digging into some of the stuff that I don't know if people consider the biggest songs off here. Like, I've been obsessed with that the Dragon Lady song. You know, like that shit is wild, and the verses have like just a wild timing on it. But I think I'm gonna take Richie Dagger's Crime. When I listen to this song, it's like it might be the punkest song of all time. You know, it's like an autobiography. I think, like the way that he writes it. And it's just, I don't know, there's a lot of guitar work going on, but this is one where he is just completely losing it on top. You know, we talk about Keith Morris, like on Nervous Breakdown, just going nuts at the end. It's like, well, here we have Darby Crash, like doing, you know, his version of that. And it's absolutely fabulous. Like this stuff, what makes it great, again, like is the juxtaposition of like music that has some melody, but also has like an element that is so ugly sitting over the top of it. And what makes this song like go from like really good to great is like that last like verse when the dude like chucks in like that like spacey guitar lead. Do, 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 do. It's like so melodic when dude is just straight losing his mind, you know? And yeah, you got to kind of think like this is an autobiographical song. This is like his mission statement of life, and that just makes it so much gnarlier. Ben, what do you think about this?
When you said Richie Dagger's Crime, I got goosebumps just saying the name of this song. I love that line where he says, "The boy who was never much loved, his idea of fun was society's grudge." That's Richie Dagger's Crime.
Yeah.
It's like that's punk. Like let's go out there and push and just you know, be fucking dicks to society, to norms. To let's spit in society's face because that's fun to us. Is having people push back on us like that. Yeah, it is autobiographical. There are other autobiographical songs on this album. I might take one later. This was at one time probably my favorite album ever. Boy, and the artwork too. I know this is about songs, this whole thing, but that blue circle with the black background, like iconic, overused word, but come on. I think that applies to Germs GI.
Yeah, there's a lot of like good lines in here. Like I love that suck me in and spit me out, devour me in haste.
Yes.
You know, it's like very poetic, like in the middle of like lyrics that otherwise are like kind of visceral. And then, you know, again, that I can take on all your heroes, like kind of hitting that several times throughout the song. It's like, that's like the Iwo Jima, like sticking a fucking flag on top of the mountain of like what punk is to him, like in this year. So I don't know. I love this song and I love this whole album. And again, it's like there's so many nooks and crannies on this thing. It's just one of the greatest pieces of music ever. But it's like it's not pretty. So I'm not trying to harp on stuff like The Clash and Joy Division and stuff, which I think is like more accessible to like the ear of norm people. You know, like, you know, you can give like your uncle a Clash album and he might like be like, oh, that's pretty nice. You know, but like this is like the step further, right? Like this is something where people will listen to this the first time and be like disgusted by the audio output of this record, you know? And like when I'm talking about punk, like I like a little bit of that in the music. So that's that. Clevo, let's go to you for your round number 4. Okay. And let's go to Clevo for his round number 4.
So, you know, to kind of juxtapose what you were just saying, Zach, about, you know, about the Germs and, you know, like the ugliness of the music, I think that Richie Dagger is one of those songs that's kind of unassuming because like that little poppy guitar beat at the beginning and before it kicks in. But if we want to talk about real ugly music, let's say, I'm going to take the Germs and We Must Bleed, because that just like the guitars are just so overdriven, and that riff, the way that kind of just waterfalls down, and then like whatever he's saying in the choruses, which is you know about like glass breaking and like car, it's just like crashing and screeching and glass breaking or whatever, but then like you know. The chorus is just "We must bleed" over and over, and then by the end of it, when he's just like, "I want out now," just like over and over and over, you know, it's so repetitive, and it's really just this is like nihilist punk to a T. I think that a lot of like when you see like Punk on Quincy, like this is what they are trying to portray to the American public. So, and I also think like, you know, we talk about Poison Idea a lot on here, and, you know, like you can see that this is what Poison Idea was using as a touchstone to start their band. Yeah. Another album that, you know, we could have taken probably any of the tracks off of this. And I think we would have all been happy.
Yeah. This is another great one. And gnarly sounding for sure. Ben, what do you think?
This is the song that drove my mother crazy when I played it in the car when I was, 13 or whatever, in the tape deck. Went towards the end where he just keeps on repeating himself. We must bleed. She just went nuts. She's like, I can't take it anymore. And for the record, the song that drove my dad nuts was Why by RKL. But this song is, this song's great. Pat Smear, when the Germs reunited with that actor as standing in for Darby Crash, Pat Smear kept playing and they had to restart the end of the song, and he kept doing that. He did like 3 times, and he was smiling, and it's like, oh, he's totally fucking with us. And that, like, what everyone who hung out with the Germs back in the 70s says about them is that they were total pranksters. They were like jokers, and like maybe that might be lost because there's like really heavy, dark, serious lyrics, and then Darby Crash kills himself the next year. And like, but other than that, these were like, prankster, wise ass kids. So that kind of shone through when I saw them do this song.
It's wild because like this dude Pat Smear is known for his 3 most notable bands would be like Germs, Nirvana, and then Foo Fighters. And I think we've talked about this before, but it is funny that like it goes down in quality every time, right? Nirvana, not as good as the Germs. And then Foo Fighters, one of the worst bands of all time. So pretty wild. Pretty wild. Okay, let's go back around to Dan. We are now in the speed rounds.
What about me?
Ben.
Oh
Ben
shit! Again, my bad. I'm not used to Ben ever being in the Nard curse spot. Okay, let's go to Ben for his number 4.
I came into this world like a puzzled panther waiting to be caged, but something stood in the way. I was never quite tamed. I'm going with Manimal by Germs off of the GI album. This is my favorite song on this album, and there are like 18 songs on this album, just like The Clash, except it's a single LP, not a double. But they do this in Decline. They don't do it very well in Decline. But I love the cross paths of right and wrong, saw them take their toll, saw the armies marched like animals they crawled. It's like kind of like how Richie Dagger's Crime is autobiographical. This song definitely is too. I mean, he's fucked up, man. He's like in pain. He's like got this creature on my back that just won't let go. I don't know if he's talking about drug addiction, or just like mental anguish. And going back to We Must Bleed, when he's singing I Want Out Now, the way I interpret that is I want to be out of this life. Like it's a suicidal plea. But I've never been suicidal in my life, but I completely relate to the lyrics of this song.
Dude, another great song off this record, right? And zero chance that they are doing up and down picking. This is all downstroking. You can fucking tell, you know?
And
I love
I'm
this, although it is
that.
crazy. Yeah,
I
you
love
can
that
tell.
shit.
And I mean, I judge bands based on it, dude. And like, I've been looking, dude, and a couple bands I've seen recently that I like a lot. It's like one guitarist will be up downing, and it's like, this is fucking embarrassing, dude. Makes me want to flip a table, you know? Practice. Get that right hand game on point, you know what I'm saying? It's wild. We picked 3 songs, and I think that Media Blitz is the best Germs song. Like, kind of, maybe it's just like the most palatable one, but I don't know. I love that song, and maybe Dan will do the right thing and take it. We will see. Dan, let's go back to you, and we are doing the inaugural speed rounds. What is your number 5 pick?
Freedom! There ain't no fucking freedom. Police car, Cockney Rejects.
I am going to take Stiff Little Fingers, Alternative Ulster.
Oh, damn it.
And we go to you. We go to Clevo.
I'm going to take Angelic Upstart's Teenage Warning.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh.
Okay, Ben, let's go to you. Speed round.
All right, we're keeping it in the UK. I'm going to go Sex Pistols' Silly Thing. This is the version on this Great Rock and Roll Swindle soundtrack with Paul Cook singing. Paul Cook, great voice, drummer, never sang on another song to my knowledge.
Dan, let's go to you for the second speed round. You're number 6.
Oh, fucking hell. I just got butchered for Alternative Ulster. I'm an upstart. Angelic Upstarts.
Okay, I am going to take Love Song by the Damned. Clevo?
So wait, is there another round after this?
Yeah, we go into the heartbreak round, and then we can talk about those.
Okay, I'm going to take Gang of 4 Damaged Goods.
Fucking hell.
You guys had 5 other rounds to pick.
I know,
shit.
but you save one that you want to talk about, right?
Yeah, but this is good to take in the speed round because we shouldn't be talking about this. Okay, Ben, number 6.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Avengers: American in Me.
Ooh, nice one.
Oh, that is a good one.
Okay, Dan, we go to you for the heartbreak round. What is your number 7 pick?
I'm gonna go for my heartbreak pick. I am going to choose "Thick as Thieves" by The Jam. This song is so great. And just such an amazing vibe that you get from it. It's a total like The Jam doing like a looking back at the way things were in Paul Weller looking back in the way things were in like that neighborhood in like, well, he's from Woking, but it's like looking back, and I think it's almost looking back to like the way things were coming out of World War II. To an extent, it's just a song talking about kids growing up and just being friends and doing all the crazy shit, but it's also like a mentality of like the way people are in neighborhoods back then, like sticking together and sticking tight. And it's just a song about growing older and looking back and just, everything that made you on your way there. It's like it's just a beautiful poetic song, like talking about growing up. And I just love the simple chorus of thick as thieves, us. Like, it's not thick as thieves, it's like thick as thieves, us. Like, it's saying like we were thick as thieves, but doing it in like kind of the lilt of where he's from, and we stick together for all time, and we meant it. But I don't know, it's just such a catchy, brilliant song, and I think the lyrics are everything.
Clevo or Ben, do you want to speak on this?
No.
Clevo?
I probably don't. I don't need to speak on it. I probably, if I was going to take the jam, I would have taken something else off of this. But
Okay, I was banking on you guys talking so I could have time to plan out my number 7.
All mine got taken, so like the planning stage for me, I was just like, oh my god, I'm up.
Yeah, I thought that I was going to get swooped on more than one. Although, like, I guess I didn't really get swooped because you took Nervous Breakdown and I had Fix Me there. I feel fine with that.
Yeah.
But this really comes down to these two songs, and it's the Pagans with Dead End America, which I love.
Ooh,
and people know that I fly the Pagans flag a lot. A band we've never talked about on the podcast is the Dickies. And my favorite song of theirs comes out this year, which makes sense, right? They put out 2 LPs this year. So good chance you're going to have one of your favorite songs off one of their first 2 LPs. Although I do think that Incredible Shrinking Dickies is better than Dawn of the Dickies. Like, the songs are like shorter, and it's weird because it's like the same year. And I wouldn't say that Dawn of the Dickies is like a slump necessarily, like the Damned. Like, their second album is definitely a slump, but I don't know. This first one is better. Man, I can't decide on these two. I'm going to go Dickies Eve of Destruction. It's just, it's as close to me ever picking a pop song as you're going to get. But like, it's so wild in like a zany way, but goddamn, like, again, like, I think that the way people hear like the Beatles to like their brain, like, that's how I like take this. It just sounds, I don't know, like a 50s pop song, but it's like turbocharged. So I don't know. It's also wild because of all like the LA bands, like these dudes get signed to a major. So, and then, as we've talked before, it's like Keith Morris leaves the Circle Jerks, and like Keith Morris leaves Black Flag, and the Circle Jerks like don't have an easy time finding someone to put out their record in 1980. Which is wild. So you kind of see like both sides of like LA punk at this time, right? Like, one band like is on a major, and another like kind of all-star band has trouble like getting their record put out, and like they take a chance going with someone like Frontier that is like relatively inexperienced, ends up being an all-time classic label, but at the time like they were not like a label of note. Ben, what do you think about this?
This is a Barry Maguire cover. It's a song from the mid 60s. It's like a folk rock kind of Dylan-esque song. And when I first heard the original, it was like the lyrically heaviest song I had ever heard. Like, it's like so much devastation, and the Eastern world, it is exploding. And like the Dickies cover is almost like making light of it, just like la 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 la, everything's a cartoon, la la la. So I never really clung to the Dickies cover of this song, but Water Slide, that's my jam on this album. That would have been my pick for Incredible Shrinking Dickies.
Well, I didn't know this was a cover, but if we're going covers, also this year I think is the Banana Split song, right?
Yeah,
I love that.
They do Paranoid. They do Black Sabbath Paranoid. They do the Monkees She. That's the song I rolled my car to while driving to Oxnard on the Camarillo grade. So many great picks. You drive me ape. That's the song they'll always be known for.
You should have put on the second album of Stiff Little Fingers and just hung on for dear life.
That's right. Okay, Dan, what do you think about this?
I think this song's so good. I mean, this is like Buzzcocks worship to an extent, but with California in there as well. Like, it's so poppy. And I grew up watching the Banana Splits on TV in England. Did you all grow up watching it?
No,
man. I was born in 1980, not 1962.
Okay. Well, it was just so crazy to like get into punk later and hear that song and then know it was from a punk band, because it was like a childhood formative memory, And it was an American show, so I mean, Clevo, did you watch it?
The Banana Splits?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it was like it would be in like syndication. It was like reruns by the time I was seeing it. Yeah. It was like it's from the 60s, right?
I don't think so. I think it was
late
like
60s, early 70s.
I think it was a late 70s.
No,
people dressed in suits.
I watched it, but I always thought it was like late 60s, early 70s.
Really? It used to come on after the Monkees, so maybe that's it. And also, the Monkees was in syndication too in England. Like we were getting things way later. So
it was
I guess it was 1968 to 70. So God, that's really weird. I wasn't watching it then. I'm not that old.
It came on right after the Monkees and right before Mr. Ed.
And Flipper. We used to watch Flipper and Gentle Ben as well. These were all our tastes of America. This is what we thought America was.
That's why Dan joined the military.
Flipper and Gentle Ben.
That's why Dan came here and joined the military. He's like, that is something worth defending.
I know. I have to defend this beautiful utopia. This is a good pick, though. Very unzapped.
It does hurt, like, having the pagans, like, laying out there. I don't know what was going to happen. You know what it was? I thought Alternative Ulster was going to get taken for sure in the first 3 rounds. And that was the only Stiff Little Finger song I was going to take.
I should have done it. I should have taken it right after Suspect Device, like when it rolled back around. But I blew it.
Hey, live and learn, dude. That's the experience of the 185 Super 7. Okay, Clevo, it is the heartbreak round. What is your final pick?
Well, I'm going to do it justice. Since I'm from Cleveland, I'm taking the Pagans with Dead End America.
Yes.
I was getting really nervous that you were going to snake me on that one. When we talked about like all this other stuff, like talk about hardcore and crust and like, the ugliness. And then like, this is really puts the rock in punk rock where it's like, it has, it sounds dirty, but it's so catchy and rocky. I was trying to find the lyrics, and I don't see them online, and they're not in the record. So, but I mean, you can listen along. But the chorus is "Dead End America." The cover is the Cleveland Press. Of the Jim Jones Mass Suicide. The cover of the record of the single is the Jim Jones Mass Suicide with with pink. It's like black and pink, very shocking. It says Dead End America over it. Again, thinking of Cleveland in the late 70s, Dead End America, like this all just fits together. If anyone was going to take the Pagans, it was going to be me.
I love it, dude. I love this song so much. The single that came out the year before is my absolute favorite, both the A and the B side. But this goes hard, dude. It's rocking. This guy has like kind of I don't know, like a perfect punk voice, right? Like you listen to it and you're like, yeah, maybe this is just like more like pub rocky or like, just going back to the roots of rock and roll. But it's like, I don't know, dude. The dude sounds real punk. And then these early Pagan recordings are like rough in like the best way. Like they're lo-fi, but they still sound good and bright. Like I love them. And there's like some collections out of like all these early songs that are pretty easy to get. There was one called Shit Street that came out in the last like, I don't know, the last 20 years that is like really available out there. And I recommend everyone get it for the record collection. Like this is a band where like that record, you just toss it on and the whole thing bangs. And it's one of those ones where like the album art is some of the worst, but like the songs are some of the best. I mean, if you can do it, get like the Pink record, right? I think it came out in 82 or 83, like, and that's all these songs, but it's a little harder to find.
Is the Pink record, was it re-recorded?
I don't think so. It's just these, right?
I'm not 100% sure. I think one of the collections there might be re-recordings or there's original versions. Shit Street does have just a terrible cover. Like you mentioned the Street Where No One Lives, What's This Shit Called Love. I think that's when you people know about the Pagans, that's what they know. I think that record and this record, they have another record that comes out in 79 that I don't like as much as this one. But yeah, I think that all of early all of those early singles, just really, it's just a great representation of this band. Not that I would have seen them when I was 7 years old, but I was getting really nervous that I wasn't going to get this on, and I wanted to save it for the last round because I wanted to talk about it. I didn't want to take it in the speed round.
Yeah, well, they also put out a 7-inch in 77, right? 6 and Change is a 77 single.
Yeah,
I believe. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it came out like because the Street Where Nobody Lives is my favorite, and that's 78, and I believe the 6 and Change. It's a single song, It came out in 77, so that kicks. But
that's just a big hole 45.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Dan, what do you think?
I think this song is so good, and musically, and you were talking about his voice, like the singer's voice. The thing that makes it so great and punk is it sounds like he doesn't care. Do you know what I mean? That's coming through in the vocal is like I don't care. I'm not putting effort into it, and it's so great because if you listen to this music and if you had someone singing over it like going out west where I belong, like it's almost the same kind of vibe as like California Sun or something like that musically, like but the snare, and it's not like a snare like drawing out words, but it's just kind of a snare-ish delivery, really just ramps it up and makes it a really great, catchy punk song.
It's what makes it great, right? And it's crazy that, at this time, coming out of Clevo, it's like Stiv Bators and this dude both have like perfect, like typical punk voices, so good. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, this is my go-to Pagan song. This is the one because when I was first getting into punk, my dad's friend Gene Scalati would come over with singles. You like punk now? Here, check this out. And I remember distinctly, he comes over to our house and he had this single, which has Little Black Egg as the B-side. He had the Rich Kids single that's completely red with red vinyl. It's just the song Rich Kids. And he had the Models, Freeze, and Man of the Year, which is, I think, from 77. All excellent records. And like, that stayed in my mind, and I still have the record. And it has this kind of weird verse where it's like, is that just bass going?
Yes.
What the fuck? Okay, yeah, that's a kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, like the guitars are doing like cutouts, and the bass is doing like a slide. He's going like, it's so sick. His punk as fuck. Like, hey, we want to do this? Well, that doesn't really make sense. Fuck it, do it anyway. You know what I mean? It's so cool. Okay, Ben, let's go to you for your heartbreak round. What is your number 7?
Well, this is heartbreaking because I thought, oh, maybe I'll do Rhino 39 Xerox into going into No Compromise, but I think I picked that for my LA Super 7 way back when we did that, so I don't want to repeat myself. So I'm going to pick another song where I might be repeating myself, Generation X, Night of the Cadillacs. This is on their second album, Valley of the Dolls. A lot of these first generation punk bands, when they came out with their second album, it was like people were like, all right, what are they going to do now? Are they going to repeat themselves? Or are they going to expand their sound? And, the Clash and the Damned expanded their sound and went in interesting directions. And Generation X did too. Like, this record has kind of like rock opera, the Who-esque songs like Kenny Silva's The Boy Who Disappeared. And it also has like a rockabilly thing with King Rocker. And then Night of the Cadillacs, this song is like, it's almost like fetishizing America in a way. And look where Billy Idol ended up. And it's just like, maybe there's not much there, like substance wise. Like, you're not going to get taught a lesson about politics the way you are by listening to a Crass record or even a Stiff Little Fingers record, but it's just so fucking cool. And Billy Idol has like the perfect voice, just like the perfect singing voice. He's just like, I know like there's like an element of like cheesiness to him, but like when I got into him, I was so young that like, when you get into something so young, you don't even realize if it's like, not that, if it's kind of corny, it just goes over your head. And by the time you grow up, you're like, I don't even care. That's just what I grew up on and I love it. And no one can talk shit. Like, that's how I feel about Billy Idol. And that extends back to Generation X. So great record. Not as good as the first one, which is my Desert Island record, the Generation X self-titled from 78. But Valley of the Dolls, I vouch for this.
Hey, dude, I love that song, Rock the Cradle of Love. So that's what's up. Clevo, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that this just suffers from not being the first album. When I was going through listening, I was like, oh, I probably want to grab something off this record. And it just doesn't grab me the way the other one does. But, talking about them like fetishizing America, Durwood Andrews, who goes on to be an Empire and Expensive Sound. Like, he was such a motorcycle guy. I wonder like how much of that is driven by him too, like, because when you think, I just feel like that's like his thing.
Yep.
So yeah, I wonder how much of that is Durwood Andrews and how much of that is, was Billy Idol, thinking that that's his next step.
But do you think that this is a legit fall off, or you think that it just gets unfairly compared to the first record?
Maybe a little bit of both. It just doesn't grab me the way the first record does.
Yeah, it's just, you think about like the Dead Boys, the first record versus the second one, and like that's a significant fall off. But like, it's kind of weird in a way that when you listen to that second one, like the songs are still actually really good. Like it's not that bad. It's kind of flat. I don't know. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, the Dead Boys suffers from bad production. This has great production. It's just not as consistent as the first album. The first album is just like perfect, kind of the way the Buzzcocks just made perfect pop songs, but in a punk context, but not pop punk. We've established that. And then this is going for it. Like, this album is sort of reaching in different places, and it's like taking big swings. And like, some of them are misses. Like Kenny Silva's is like not that great. Like, there are some songs on here that are not that great. Like, the whole first album is classic all the way through. But this song rules, and that's the song I picked, Night of the Cadillacs.
I love it. Okay, let's go to Clevo first for honorable mentions.
Okay, Avengers, The American and Me, The Damned, anything off of Machine Gun Etiquette, The Clash, whose best song this year wasn't even on their double LP with Gates of the West. Let's see, the Buzzcocks, had a bunch of singles come out this year. Misfits, any of those other songs off the 7 inches. Speaking of Billy Idol, the band Chelsea, their first album, Fools and Soldiers and Teenagers, Dead Kennedys, California Uberalis, back with Man with the Dogs. Yes, L.A., Black Randy, Pass the Dust, I think I'm Bowie, The Cure, Grinding Halt, Wire, Map Ref, The Last, She Don't Know Why I'm Here, The Specials' first album, Weirdos, Who, What, Where, When, Why, and speaking of Stib Bators, he put out a couple power pop singles this year, and he does a cover of a song that was big in Cleveland in the 60s called It's Cold Outside. And that's a great power pop classic.
All right, Ben, you have 45 seconds.
All right. If you want to see my honorables, go to Spotify, go to the playlist 1979, Bedges Punk / Hardcore Super 7. There are way too many great songs to name. Although Clevo, I have It's Cold Outside on there. Good pick.
All right. Ben did not get exploded. Okay, Dan, due to the egregiousness of your Joy Division pick, you are on the Ben timer, and it starts right now.
Okay. Clamp Down by The Clash, CID by UK Subs, Wasted Life and Barbed Wire Love by Stiff Little Fingers. Those are all not on the list, and they really should be. And Do You Want to Dance? Live by the Ramones off It's Alive. And I am saving Outdoor Miner. This is the single version by Wire. I'm going to save it for 1978 to make Zach go fucking mental.
Hey, dudes, is the Buzzcocks record from this year not as good? Like, because none of you guys chose anything off it. I have one song on my honorables. What do you think, Dan?
I don't think it is as good as the two that came before it, but it is still top tier punk.
What do you think, Ben? Oh, sorry. Clevo, go ahead.
I didn't think I was going to get away with putting an 8-minute song on the playlist, because that's I believe is the best song on the record, and it's just it just never ends.
What do you think, Ben?
I have my absolutes, my possibles, my honorables, and Buzzcocks. I don't know what to do with my life, and You Say You Don't Love Me and Sitting Around at Home as alternates were in my absolutes, and I just skipped it because I just thought I feel like picking Generation X instead. But that was going to be one of my picks. But yeah, it's good enough where there's no reason why one of us shouldn't have picked it. We have no excuse.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with my life on my honorables. Also, we got to talk Pagans, Dead in America, thank God. Angelic Upstarts, The Young Ones, Damned. If I got the 4 slot, I was going to take I Just Can't Be Happy Today to have it be the last song on the playlist. Dead Kennedys, California Uberalis, Gigi Allen and the Jabbers, Bored to Death. Shout out to New Hampshire. The Gluams, that Mental 365 split 7-inch. This is a Swiss band, and both the songs on the 7-inch are sick, so track that down. Also, this was the year that the Hitler SS Tampax split 7-inch came out. Italian bands. This is like the ultimate Killed by Death record. Pretty wild. Legionnaires, Disease Band, I'd Rather See You Dead, band out of Houston, shout out Texas. Misfits, Rat Fink, Neon Hearts, Popular Music. This is one of the best songs that has saxophone in it. The Onion Dolls out of Belgium, their song The Kids. This song kicks so much ass. If you like the Pagans, you would like this. The song is a little too long, but it rocks. PF Commando out of Sweden, that Alt OK, and also that song Get Fucked. Another song where it's like, if you're 13, it's like, yeah, dude, I like that song Get Fucked. And this is a great LP that you guys should track down. It's like a bright neon green, and it's pretty easy to get. It's like a $10, $15 record on Discogs. And as always, we got to shout out Staffin. And yeah, I don't know. It kind of sounds like Menace meets like UK 77 shit. Rhino 39, No Compromise, Rick L. Rick, Meat House, Sham 69, Questions and Answers. Shout out to Trivia. The Skids, Of One Skin. And this is a song from 1979 with a legit breakdown in it. So that's what's up. Shout out the Skids. Saws, Police Car. This is another Swiss band. Totally sound like they could have been on No Future. Subhumans, Death Was Too Kind. The Addicts, Organized Confusion. The Cardiac Kids, Get Out. Shout out San Diego. The Crowd, Modern Machine. The Eat, Communist Radio. The Hates, No Talk in the 80s. The Lepers, Light Up a Pack. Another Clevo band. The Lude, Kill Yourself out of Seattle. Shout out Chris. The Rotters, Sink the Whales. Shout out 805. The Ruts, Babylon's Burning. Insane that song didn't make it. You know, we did.
That really is insane. It's not on the list.
That's insane because we did what, 28 songs? So
that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not on because like that is one of the all-time punk songs. Victims, spelled very 2000s, VKTMS. The song Hard Case. This is another San Francisco band. And last but not least, the Turnbuckles with their song Super Destroyer Mark No. 2. This is a band out of Minneapolis. This is probably my number one record want. So if you guys have it, hook it up. That's all. Dan, final thoughts, 1979.
Zach could have gone on for 2 more minutes with a bunch more picks. It's that good. But for some reason, he never gets the nuclear blast. I love doing this. I love listening to, like Zach said earlier, listening to this stuff in the build up to it. What a great couple of days. Love it.
Clevo, final thoughts on 1979.
I mean, every year is a good year for punk and hardcore, but goddamn, this year is stacked.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like, you're right. Every year is a good year and you can find stuff. And, you know, like we did 2010 recently and, you know, there's plenty of good stuff there. We do all the modern years, but fucking A, dude. Doing like 81, 1980, and 1979 have been an absolute pleasure. Ben, 1979, final thoughts.
What a year. This is sort of in contention for the best year for punk ever. And I've written out my thoughts to try to figure out like what is the best year for punk ever. So one day I'll share those with the world. My senseless blather, but this was definitely one of the contenders.
Yeah, Ben, last time we did a Super 7, you were like, okay, my Substack's going to be up. Where is it, dude?
I have it's called Word Attack, named after the Adolescence song, but I haven't put anything up on it yet. I don't know. It's just one of those things where you have to like take the first step and then I'm sure it'll just like flow out like water. I don't know. That's the hope.
It's fun. It's a pain too though. But what are you going to do? Okay, Dan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Southpaw Instagrammer and come say hello.
Clevo, where can the people find you?
On Instagram at Clevo.
And Ben, where can the people find you?
I'm on Instagram at Future Confusion. That is the name of my band.
Hell yeah. Everyone get at me. 185 miles south at gmail.com. Also 185milessouth.com. All our links are there. We're on all the socials, 185 miles south. And if you want to keep this podcast alive, smash that Patreon button. Shout out to all the Patreons who do keep this podcast alive, the real heroes. And we will talk to you again next Monday on Patreon. We love you all.
Walk to Temple Boulevard. No way in to the Son of God. She opens the door to the side glance. Top the floor, make your plan. Into you could pay a deed. Loud and rag like deep. No side, you know why. She's little something. Something eyes and naked eyes. You were a creature, culture ties. Preacher schemes and self-denial.